Howdy folks, we're back. This is start part 2 of building custom arrows, and if you watched part 1, we got the 6 shafts spine tested where they matched. We weighed them so they matched. We tapered both ends, pre-sanded them, and also straightened them. So now we're ready to start the staining process. These are going to be stained with 2 different colors. It's going to be a bi-stain, you might want to call it. So we're going to get them ready. We're going to use this ruler here to measure them. We want the point end stain to be at 10 inches. If I can get this tape, I'm using frog tape. It helps the bleeding. You're going to get a little bit of bleeding irregardless, depending on what kind of stain you use. I prefer the alcohol based stains because they penetrate really well on all types of wood. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it right there at 10 inches, and then I'm going to wrap it. There we go. Set that one off to the side. Get the next one. Get it lined up. Get me a piece of tape. And do the same thing. Whoop. Alright, well, I'll get the rest of them done and we'll be back and I'll show you how we're going to stain the bottom of these. Okay folks, we're back. I've got them all marked and we're going to stain them. And I can tell you right now, if you're going to use this alcohol stain, you're going to want these latex gloves. If you get it on your hands, it'll stay on your hands for days. Alcohol will take them off, but take some of it off anyhow, but for the most part it'll stay on your hands. And we're going to use a dark walnut color for the base of this. And as you can see, this dipping tube is not deep enough to dip it all the way, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this here little brush, and this helps keep it from bleeding too. Basically just make sure you got it good and covered. Set the brush down, let it drain off. Like so. And I tell you what I forgot. I forgot the paper towels. If you don't wipe them down and leave that on there, it actually gets so dark that you can't hardly see. Alright, here we're going to do this one. Now if you want them darker, you can leave it on there and it'll just continue to penetrate. In this case, I don't want them that dark. I'll let that drain off of there. And wipe it down. Hang it up. Alright, I'll get the other 4 done and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay folks, we're back. I've let that walnut color dry for about half hour. Now we're going to apply the other color, which is it's called yellow, but on a lot of shafts, if you let it darken, it looks like a whole lot like Osage or Bodark, what Selpos are made out of. So I've got my gloves again, and the first thing we're going to do, well, you know what? I might have to take one glove off, because the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this tape on these. Tape wants to stick. We want that second color to butt right up to the first color, and then to cover the break where it looks kind of ragged looking, there'll be a crest, and the cresting paint will cover it. Well, that got dark on one side. And then see, I'm getting a little bit of stain. It ain't completely dry. It generally takes 2 or 3 hours for it to dry, even the alcohol. The alcohol dries a whole lot quicker than other stains. Now this one here, because it's a short, I can just dip it. And also for this yellow, I'm not going to wipe the yellow. So we're going to dip it down in there, right up to the other one. Pull it out. Let a little bit of it drain off. And hang it back up here. Do the same thing here. A little bit of it drain off. Right there. There we have it. Now I'm going to let these dry about 3 hours, and then we'll come back and do the first dip of sealant on them. Hello folks, we're back. Let these dry here several hours, and now we're going to put the first coat of sealant on them. And the first thing I want to do is I want to get my gloves. You can still get stain on your hands. There's some residue left on these shafts. And the first thing we're going to do, so I get my gloves on here, is we're going to wipe the shafts down with a paper towel. We're going to take them, and we want to wipe them from the light end down the dark end, and get as much residue off of them as possible. And I use a different paper towel on each one. You can see the residue that I've taken off. What that does, that gets in the sealant. If I start singing, I'm sorry, I like to sing Johnny Cash. I'll try not to though. Got a good contrasting color here. The dark walnut color up to the yellow or osage. Alright, last one. Alright, now, actually I got two sealant containers here, as you can see. One's a little darker than the other, and the dark one, what it is the stains that bled into this one. And I use this one for the first seal. That way I have my clear one stays good. Once it the first dip seals and dries for about a half hour, it won't bleed into the clear. And I don't know if y'all know, this is gasket lacquer. And the reason they call it gasket lacquer is you actually take a gasket and you run the shaft down into the gasket, and when you pull it back out, it pulls the excess lacquer off of it, and it dries relatively quick. I like to let it dry, each coat dry about a half hour or so at least. What I'm doing is I'm going to take a what I call a BS shaft, and I'm going to prime the gasket. And then we can just set that one aside there, and put the knock in, down, and we go in, and we just pull it out, and we hang it up. Okay, there's the first sealant dip. I'm going to let them dry for a half hour, and then we'll be back and move on to the next step. Well, we're back, folks. I've let the shafts dry for about a half hour, the sealant on them dry. And now what we're going to do is the second sanding. I got my 4/0 steel wool, and basically we're just going to do what we did before, just sand them off. And smooth them down. This will be the last time we sand them. You don't want to sand too much because you don't want to take off the all the sealer. That one's good, nice and smooth. Makes for a very smooth arrow once you get done. And generally what I do is I'll do 3 shafts on one side of this steel wool and then do 3 on the other side. And I'll get the rest of these done, and then we'll go over to the straightener and straighten them again. Okay, we're back. I finished sanding them. Now we're going to straighten them again. You definitely have to check the straightness of the shaft several times until the final sealing, and then they should stay straight. But sanding them like that definitely will cause them to get some bows in them. And that one there's got a little bit right about there. Now we're going to use, here's how I put a sealer, we're going to use this one on it this time. And I tell you one thing, you got to have them as straight as possible when you're crusting them. A little bit right down here. I don't know if y'all can see this or not. All right. All right, that one's good. That one's good. Oh, that one's really good. Oh, that one there. Oh, that was... All right, down in here. There we go. All right, where you at? I see you. Right about there. There we go. Oh, one more, we're done. That was right in there. Still got something. Oh, chased it a little bit. I got a little bit of something in there someplace. Chase it back down here. Occasionally you get one that just chase it back and forth along the ends, and it just takes a while to get. There we go. All right, get set up for the next sealing. All right, we're going to put the second sealant coat on, and we're going to use the clear this time. Should get the dust off the gasket. Again, we're going to take and prime it. Knock in first. And it should be smooth and shiny and ready for the cresting, hopefully. Alrighty. Second coat of sealant. We're going to let that dry for about a half hour, and then we'll do the cresting.